WWW stands for Wet, Wild, and Wicked. We're ready to download all the action from the 2001 Baja Pro Series. Tonight, the year that was in the factory and Outlaw classes. So relax. Enjoy the view. APBA Offshore Powerboat Racing is next. Welcome to our 2001 APBA Offshore Baja Pro Series season recap show. Today we're going to take a look back at the 2001 season for Factory 2, Factory 1, and the Outlaw classes. Hi everybody, I'm Ralph Shaheen. Now once again, the APBA showed with the quality of their competition why they are the leader in offshore powerboat racing. And one of the highlights of the year was Todd Glenworth and Trace Martin, who dominated Factory 2 in the absolutely stunningly gorgeous Team Virgin cigarette. If there was a best appearing class, Team Virgin would have won that one hands down. They did win 5 races over the 2001 season. They ran a 38-foot and a 36-foot variation of this boat, and they did win the national championship. In the Formula One class, the smaller of the two factory classes, Bill, these boats are very similar to what you can find in the showroom.
Basically, these are all stock hulls. You have to keep that in mind. These are indeed factory racing boats.
Now these are 24 to 29 feet with a single motor, only one HP 500 or EFI 500 in these boats.
Now Daytona was the first race of the year, the Daytona International Speedway Offshore Grand Prix. Very, very rough water to kick the season off. F129 Typhoon would be the early race leader on this day. There's a good look of Glenn Murray and Randy Schluss, F129 Typhoon, leading the way on the waters of the Atlantic Ocean off of Daytona Beach. And look at how they got the boat right up on the side. This is F196 Poker Run, battling for second. You can just see how rough the water is. They would take the position ahead of this boat, F146. This is Freedom Offshore, running in third, Lynn Taylor and Peter Dorner. Fourth, F144 Team Boathouse, Angelo and Tony Buffamonte. While this action was going on and Typhoon was out front, a red flag would come out because of a problem with one of the safety planes. That would give Typhoon the win. Round 2 would be on the west coast of Florida at Fort Myers, and Bill, it was a great show.
They had a great battle out here. You can see they're remarkably close right now. Look at how close this gets right here. Oh, just a bit. That's just kind of like a little NASCAR nudge saying, I want that piece of water.
That opened the door for the F186 to move through to take the lead. They would end up taking the win as well. Purple Haze Racing picking up the victory in Formula One. But a great battle behind them in second place. These two boats really having at it as it started to get a little bit choppy here.
It did right here. They're going through the wash of some of the other boats, and neither one wanted to back off the throttle. They desperately want that second place prestige, money, and points.
MCS Activator, that's that green and yellow F127 boat, ended up holding on to second. There's the Purple Haze guys celebrating as they're making their way to the checkered flag.
He is happy.
Yep, nobody behind us. We're good to go. 2 rounds and 2 different winners. Typhoon and Purple Haze found their way to victory lane. When we have a 3rd different winner in Corpus Christi, Texas, stay with us to find out. Round 3 brought to you by Baja Marine Corporation. Baja, speed changes you. By Snap-on. Snap-on tools anytime, anywhere at snap-on.com. And by Racing Electronics, the official communications provider to the APBA. Round 3 of the APBA Baja Pro Series would be the Allen Samuels East-West Powerboat Shootout in the shadows of the big aircraft carrier here in Corpus Christi, Texas. Round 3 would also be a very rough water day for the competitors. As they came to the green to get the race underway, 9 boats in this one. F127 MCS, BJ Marr and Mark Schnoff, and the F186 Purple Haze right to the front, just like they did in Fort Myers. Ron Ladovic and Jason Myers in the Purple Haze boat.
Well, it's always fun to renew old friendships, and these fellas went right at it once again.
But a good battle going on behind the leaders as well. This is the F-152 of Michael Milligan and Thomas Chesley, and the F-120 of Robert Goodwin and Mark Kowalski. Well, that battle didn't last too long because the F-152 breaks, and then bigger troubles for the F-120, which winds up on its head. Everybody would be okay. It would be the second caution of the day. But the MCS survives both restarts and goes on to take the win. The F-127 of BJ Marr and Mark Schnoff would be the winners in F1 here on this day.
This is really so deceptive right now. It just looks like they are flying the waves with such grace, and it almost looks like fun. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fun that is a pounding, just rocketing to the finish line right here.
So 2 rough water races, 1 smooth water race, 3 races in the books, and 3 different winners. MCS Activator gets the win at Rough Water Corpus Christi. Purple Haze comes home in second place, so the points would shake out this way. With their win and a second at the last round, Purple Haze would extend their points lead. Twisted Chicks, with some consistent racing, would hold on to second over Chesapeake MCS Activator. The teams would load up and move east once again, back to the Sunshine State for another smooth water race in Sarasota, Florida. A full field of 15 boats came screaming to the green flag, but there was trouble early for many of the field as they got off course. This course here in Sarasota is so long that navigating it became one of the tougher portions of winning the event. After a yellow to sort things out, plenty of good racing up front with a 3-way battle. F-190, the PropcoPropellers.com machine, the 86 Purple Haze entry, and the 27 MCS Activator boat really heating up the action. In the end, however, MCS with BJ Marr and Mark Schnoff behind the controls proved too tough, taking their second straight win and moved into second place in the series points behind Purple Haze. Cleveland Browns Stadium would form a beautiful backdrop for round number 5. Cleveland, Ohio, in the rough waters of the Great Lakes. And for the smaller boats, this would be real treacherous. The MCS Activator, the first 2-time winner of the year, would find the going tough here, as this rough water really was tough on the little boats.
Just the smaller boats, they have to react so much more violent to the water conditions, and you can see the water was rougher. Yeah, it's a bright day, but man, their hands are full right there with the F-190, a hard battle.
David Caruth and Brian Canty in the F-190, and battling with them is this boat right here, the F-113, Dominic Guido and Vincent DeCandia.
They are running hard too, but boy, you can see that the leaders are just seemingly pulling away.
On board, the Gecko imported tequila entry of Vincent DeCandia and Dominic Guido, the Activator.
Uh-oh. Problem? Yeah, they do have a problem. They're looking out the back and something is not working anymore.
Oh, and a good run for them comes to a screeching halt. Here's the MCS Activator, which has just dominated this class all year. BJ Marr and Mark Schnepp. But not to be today. Brian Canty and David Caruth, the F-190, the PropcoPropellers.com Peter Dean Racing entry, 28-foot Warlock, taking the win here today, with Caruth the driver and Canty on the throttles.
The Activator could outturn us all day long. We could just beat them in the straights, which is usually different for our boat. Usually we're great in rough water and not very good in the straights, but today the boat went well in the straights instead of the rough water, so today it was just a little bit of luck.
So the Warlock gets the win, but the Activator, with 2 wins and a second place here, would have the points lead over Purple Haze and Ale House with 5 races in the books. Next stop, the crews are headed north of the border. We're going to Canada. The series next made its one trip north of the border for the Offshore Grand Prix of Canada, where the weather was absolutely beautiful.
This really was Chamber of Commerce weather. Just something you couldn't ask for much better. Crystal clear sky, beautiful water conditions. And once again, they are spread all across the horizon. Look at the air these little boats taking now. Boy, oh boy, they just get up, they jump out of the water. Lots of horsepower underneath these covers.
Chris Pablos and Michael Myers in Full Tilt Racing take the early lead in the F114.
This is a good example of why they appreciate somewhat calmer water. You can see even in conditions like this, they spend a lot of time with just the stern drive, just the propeller in the water. They're carrying a lot of air. This is about picture-perfect racing right now. They had this boat running so strong, running so well, and really it doesn't look like it's that difficult to ride from that view. Once you get down, you see the boats are running really hot.
This is a battle for second. Typhoon, the white boat, has the position. On the inside, the yellow and green boat, the Activator, that's the one that's really dominated this class for most of the season. And there is the fourth place entry, F162 Talisman. But back up front, Full Tilt Marine would take the win on this day here in Mississauga, Canada. Unfortunately for the crew of F114, in post-race inspection, a problem would be found with the fuel that they were using, and the win would be taken away. So the points for Mississauga would shake out a little bit differently. After the racing was done, Chesapeake and Activator would get the win. Typhoon Racing Talisman and then Full Tilt would be moved back to fourth. So Chesapeake and Activator would have it pretty easy going into the season finale, but there'd be a great battle for third as just 1 point separated Purple Haze and Twisted Chicks. And the season finale would be settled back in the Sunshine State in St. Petersburg, Florida.
3, 2, 1, green flag, green flag, green flag.
Once again, courtesy of Racing Electronics, you hear them give the command.
Interesting, notice how the throttle man still has the visor open. That's pretty relaxed, but ultimately I think it could be dangerous. And you can see his hand on the throttle. He's holding that thing pretty much down all the time, showing the conditions are beautiful.
Jim Arvis, Teresa Eubanks leading the race in Twisted Chicks. We'll have more on that unique story coming up. But Myers back in the field, but the points leader in the national championship is the green and yellow boat you see there. That is the Chesapeake in Activator, and they are doing exactly as they said they were going to do, just laying back, taking it easy today.
Go, go, get on. Get on, get on.
Meanwhile, Gecko imported Tequila Bill running hard.
Yeah, and you can see they're getting a little impatient right there. He's saying, get on it. He wants more throttle now. Don't worry about the rough water. Let's just get out and race.
Here at St. Pete, Teresa Eubanks had to get a new co-pilot in Jim Arvis.
Now, both of these people had their partners injured in separate accidents, and they've teamed up in this race. So poor Jim Arvis, he's the recipient of the honorary Twisted Chick Award, and of course, all the necessary teasing that goes along with it. Oh, no.
Oh, big problem here. The Gecko imported Tequila entry that was running so strong early on, out. One of the crew members signaling he's okay. Team Virgin is stopping. We are going under a yellow, says APBA official.
Now here's just watch and see what happens here. Wow!
Oh,
man.
wow! And it sounded like a football impact when Vincent and Dominic came together before they got thrown out of the boat. Unfortunately, Vincent would suffer some injuries in this incident. Team Virgin guys stopping to see how their colleagues were doing. APBA would go to a full course yellow, but when they got back to racing, velocity on the inside and the white boat, F156, and Twisted Chicks would have a tremendous battle for the win. And behind them, an even better battle for third between Propco on the outside and Alehouse.
It is a really good battle. You see them going through the turn side by side. Neither one wants to give up an inch, and they're getting awfully close.
Oh, man.
Boy, they got closer than they wanted to right there. Showing again, you have to pay attention 100% of the time.
Back up front, Bob Spitulski and Scott McCormick in F156 Velocity VR1 would move out to a commanding lead. And the battle for the win here at St. Petersburg would go to Velocity. Spitulski and McCormick would see the checkered flag, but not victory circle. In a post-race inspection, they would fail, and the win would go to Twisted Chicks. Jim Arvis and Teresa Eubanks getting the win over Alehouse. Velocity would be moved back to fifth. In the national championship, the title would go to Chesapeake and Activator. With a couple of wins on the year and a strong season, they would be crowned national champions in Factory 1. Earlier on, we mentioned how Vincent DeCandia suffered serious arm injuries in this incident right here. A couple of weeks later, we received some very, very good news.
He's getting a miracle. He's already moving his hand, and the doctors are telling him within a year to year and a half he's going to have 100% recovery and use of that arm.
Great news for Vincent DeCandy. And what a season it was in F1. F2 season recap is coming up, but the Outlaws are next when we return. Stay with us. Offshore Factory season recap show. We're going to now take a look at the Outlaw Classes. In P1, this class was dominated by the beautiful red boat, number 39. How sweet it is. And they did have a sweet season.
Now, a lot of these boats look familiar because they also run in the Super Cat Light class. A lot of the drivers, throttlemen, never seem to get enough racing. They always want to get back out for one more race.
Robert Nzanio and Larry Goldman also had a good year in the Montana Motorsports entry when they entered events, like here at St. Petersburg where they picked up the win. But it was this boat, P139, that had a much more consistent season and won the national championship. In P2, there were not a whole lot of entries, but Jim Ferguson and Daniel Lawrence took the title in Intense.
And you can see how well this boat is riding. It just really fits these water conditions so well.
In P3, it was this entry, P333, which came all the way from Trinidad to take the win at Fort Myers. They also grabbed a third a little later in the year at Sarasota. P35 also entered just 2 events, but took a third in Canada and the win at St. Petersburg, Florida. But the boat to beat the latter part of the season was P32, Dirty Cash. We talked to David Porath about their strategy for winning the national title.
We still go for the win because it's still up for grabs between me and Sternlock. I think there is one more boat. I think Solid Gold, but we have to go out and just go out for the win.
Unfortunately, they can do no better than 4th at St. Pete, the season finale. That allowed Sternlock to take the win and the national championship in P3.
And that right there, that is just a season of happiness coming out. Clapping hands, arm up in the air. They deserve it.
Some of the best competition of the year came in P4. As you can see here, this great battle from Fort Myers between P461 and the Blue Bat Boat, P46.
The Blue Machine is the zero-cavity boat, and yes, it does look like Batman should be driving it, but you can see they had a terrific battle going on here. Back and forth, they're both running as hard as could be, and in fact, the pressure was to show because right there, a wave was caught. Here's another look at, he gets up on the side, and suddenly, before he can do anything at all, the boat's sideways and flips over. Now, everybody safe and sound, but what a spectacular incident.
They ran consistently all year, but almost blew their shot at the national title in St. Petersburg.
When the adrenaline hits, and look at this, he goes inside the buoy. He actually misses that first corner. The 2 boats who were getting close, that is going to hurt.
In fact, if you don't circle back to make up the buoy, it's a penalty.
Correct. You can see clearly he does not get that buoy, so that is an automatic 1-lap penalty.
Well, the penalty would hit Gerardo Santiago and Enrique Ochoa, but they would go on to win the national title in zero cavity. P5, the win at St. Pete went to Pump It, one of 3 wins in 2001, but again, consistency paid off for P597 Deranged, which also took 3 wins and the national championship in P5. In PX, 2 experimental boats, the Budweiser boat, the Red and White Machine, and the number 11 Mistress, were a thrill to watch on this day at St. Petersburg, Florida.
What a dramatic display of speed. We saw speeds of almost 150 miles an hour down this course, both drivers wearing ear-to-ear smiles.
In Outlaw A, Don't Blink, A71 picked up a win at Sarasota and followed it up with a win at St. Pete. Doug Sutherland and Dennis Bilodeau took the national championship. Here's one more look at all of the Outlaw national champions in APBA offshore racing, including in Outlaw B, the B12 SpyStuffForYou.com taking the national title. Congratulations to all the champs. Time now for our GM Vortec Offshore View.
Well, just like in every other form of motorsport, heat is the enemy of efficiency. And you'd think with boats running on the water all the time that there's no shortage of cooling, but in fact there is. The motor itself has pickups that just funnel the water in through the engine. It can be carefully monitored, and they control those temperatures. But what about the drives? Now think about this. A lot of the time they're racing, this part of the drive is actually out of the water. They actually only design it so the propeller and just the lower unit fits in the water, but not this part. So how to cool it? Well, they designed this piece here called a shower, and down the bottom here are a couple of water pickups. They channel water up these and onto the top and spray water over the top of the drive unit itself. Done properly, it can cool the drive between 20 and 30 degrees. A pretty sizable reduction, so that you're probably going to get longer bearing life, keep the fluids inside a little thicker. But is that the perfect solution?
I don't want to cool my oil down on my drives. I want to keep the oil as hot as it possibly can be, because that thins it out. That's going to, let the oil flow between the gear sets a lot smoother, and it's going to have a little less drag effect on the gear set. So, everybody's got their own way of preparing their boats, but I like to keep my oil as hot as possible on the drive.
And how did Team Virgin do in the 2001 APBA Offshore season? Find out. Factory 2's up next. Offshore Factory 2001 season recap show. Time now to move up to the bigger factory boats, Factory 2. Daytona saw very, very rough water as the Factory 2 season got underway at the Daytona International Speedway Offshore Grand Prix. Look at how big the waves were. Todd Clinworth and Trace Martin took their big 38-foot, beautifully painted Team Virgin cigarette out to an early lead. A great battle for second raged on behind them. Rusty Wallace, the NASCAR Winston Cup champion, sponsoring F2 number 2 in a tight battle for second with Treadwell Motorsports. This day, very, very rough on the boats, very tough on the competitors, as you're about to hear.
Just let him go, dude. I can't even stand. I broke my foot. What? I broke my foot, but don't stop.
A brutal, brutal pounding on the boats and the competitors, but always a desire to win. And tough on our cameras. Watch this! Jim Arvis and Mitch Miller in the Rusty Wallace back boat drenching our camera, hovering above them in the high-speed helicopter, showing you just how tough it is out there and how good these helicopter pilots are. Incredible video and incredible racing. Todd Clinworth and Trace Martin would stay out front in Team Virgin and win the season opener in the big 38-foot cigarette. The next round, round number 2, would move to smoother water, the Gulf of Mexico, Fort Myers, Florida. And the Utz 57 would love the smooth water.
This is perfect. Look how nicely these boats are flying the waters out here today. They're all sitting flat, level, no rough chop to worry about. They can really get power down.
There's Mitch Miller at the controls of the throttles, Jim Arvis, the driver. This is a boat to Rusty Wallace, the NASCAR Winston Cup champion sponsors. They're in a fight for second place right now in Factory 2. Some boats love the smooth water, some boats love the rough water, but on this smooth day, Luke Dickey, Matt Rice, their Factory 2 F257 love the smooth water.
Yeah, it impresses me endlessly how relaxed these guys appear. You see them kind of casually turn and look back. They want to see where their competition is, always watching where they're going, and look at the arm. What the body language is telling you is that they are not tense about what their boat's doing. They're very comfortable with it.
There's a fight for second going on behind them. F277 right now sitting in third. That's the awesome boat of Mike Anderson and Richard Anderson.
Now that's a little bit of chine walking going on right there. It's something that at that stage is not really too uncomfortable. You feel it in your own pleasure boats and you maybe back off a little bit, but not for these guys. They stay hard into it.
Making their way towards the pier here on Fort Myers Beach as a cigarette Factory 2 class win will go to the Utz Foods Pier 57 machine. There's our race winners celebrating a little bit already. So after 2 races, we've had 2 different winners, but Utz and Team Virgin have not had the consistency of Mitch Miller and Jim Arvis in the Rusty Wallace Lake Cumberland Marine boat, which leads the national championship after 2 races. Stay with us. We're going to Corpus Christi, Texas, next. APBA Baja Offshore Factory season. Check out this tape for more. APBA Offshore Television presents the 2001 Offshore Collection. From Fort Myers to the season-closing Key West World Championships, All the action from the world's most extreme form of racing can be yours. Single tapes just $22.95, or get the complete 8-race package from Fort Myers to Key West for just $154.95. Call 1-800-VIP-FIVE or send check or money order to the address listed. That's 1-800-VIP-FIVE.
2, 1, green flag.
For round 3 of the 2001 season, the series would move from the Sunshine State to the Lone Star State. The Allen Samuels East-West Powerboat Shootout in Corpus Christi, Texas would find another rough water race for the Factory 2 entrants.
Oh, and a huge spray going up there. Almost blinded the fellas there running in second place, but here is the leader out front. Patrick Dunn just moseying around here heading towards that cut.
And look at the battle going on behind him. 4 boats battling it out for second place as they make their way to the cut, which is where they come back in front of the folks along the shoreline.
And I tell you, before today is done, there's a lot of these guys who would rather be riding that helicopter, getting something of a smooth ride.
Eventually, the race would come down to a battle between Team Virgin and F24 Let's Play Racing.
Great battle going on right here. You see them running side by side. This almost becomes ego at this point. This is Cigarette versus Formula. That's a Formula boat closest to us, the white boat. And they are running, just battling as hard as they can. Now, it's almost incentive when you can look over and see the guy that you've got to fight against. Do you allow him to go past? Do you push your own boat harder? And look how hard they're both pushing, a lot of air.
There's the third place boat, the Hog's Breath entry, which is a Scarab. Keith Herbott, Lee Murray in this one. Now we move back up a little farther towards the battle for the lead. That's Team Virgin on the left. Boy, are they taking a pounding.
Imagine the G-loading these people are sustaining right now, just slamming back onto the ocean. Incredibly rough water at this point.
And Bill, as these guys work through the rough water, you can really see the throttle man, the man on the left side of the boat, working the throttle up and down.
It's a great shot to show you just how perceptive they have to be. The throttle man is constantly looking ahead, trying to pick out the waves that are going to launch the boat off and be ready to take power out, but re-enter as fast as possible.
Well, just like they had done at the season opener in Daytona, Todd Clinworth and Trace Martin had teamwork down when it came to racing in rough water, as they would pick up the win here as well in Corpus Christi. Taking a look at the finishing results, Team Virgin the win, Let's Play Racing was second, Herbott Hogsbreath came home in third. The S Quality Foods Pier 57 entry, Luke Dickey and Matt Rice was in fourth.
From what we could see on the shore, it looked horrendously rough.
It was very rough out there, but we have the boat for it. You can't win in the flat water, but in the rough water we excel.
You laid back a little bit at the start and then come on and did a pass almost in front of the crowd.
Well, a lot of the boats in the rough water start going every which way, and the attrition we saw right at the start. The other formula gave us a good run for our money for a while, but we knew where we wanted to be.
Where they would like to be is atop the point standings, and that's exactly where they were. Team Virgin having a great season in Factory 2. Let's Quality Foods sits in second place. Stay with us. We're heading 2001. It was back to Florida, Sarasota, Florida, and the Suncoast Offshore Grand Prix, where WHM Motorsports got right back to the front of the pack.
And listen to the scream of those motors. Look how the speed on these boats is building up.
At the top of the screen, Don Q Rum trying to make a move. The big blue boat, but WHM looks strong here today. Wow, flying that nose. Now watch the center of the screen, the big blue Don Q Rum, way up in the air, up on the side, almost cartwheeling through the water. A lucky moment for the Don Q Rum machine.
And watch the air. Look at this. Look at the height. Wow, right on one side. The boat came so close to flipping over right there.
Pier 57 now moves into the lead.
Wow, David Woods, Art Lilly have just come up to say, I want a piece of this fun, guys.
And this fight for second.
That is as close, that's closer than you'd want to get. Look through the windshield.
Now off the back of Drambuie, and you can see when the boat comes up out of the water.
Oh, they touched.
Contact!
They did make contact. They hit right then. Look how the boat has rebounded off. They're both continuing.
At over 130 miles an hour, contact in midair, and Spirit of Puerto Rico goes sailing off course.
Well, that cannot get any more dangerous right there. Look at the slow motion. You see the camera get jarred by the contact, and suddenly the Puerto Rico boat veers sharply. Look at this Tommy Bahama boat starting to move now. They're taking a tighter inside line, and watch this. Powering into clean water.
Much tighter inside line. Look at the difference, and you got to see Pier 57 with big problems.
I wonder if they've just lost a drive or something. It looks like the steering just gave up totally. They are a DNF, and they're pulling off the course.
Tommy Bahama, Mark and Paul Nemshoff having a great run up front with a huge lead. But all of a sudden, the power would go away on their machine as well, handing the position, the lead to Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson, and Drambuie on ice would find themselves in victory lane for the second time this year. In the Super V class, once again, Zanetics battling with muscle, but on this day, muscle just didn't have enough muscle to get the job done. Zanetics would easily take the win over Kruglich and Branch in the muscle entry. Now let's take a look at Super V Light. Back at Daytona, Extreme Stainless would be the early leader, having a great run. But watch this. Bam! Just gets hammered by that bad boat. But they would able to soldier on, and Bill McComb and Rick Termel, even after the big hit, would get the win in Daytona. On to the next race, and Stainless once again up front. But would it be enough?
Lady Luck did not ride with them, because this boat, driven by Robert Stepanio and Alva Hayes, even though they had the terrible fortune of spinning out on lap 1, they came from last after the spin all the way back through the field to get first place.
At Corpus Christi, Solarized Boat 33 bounced through the rough water, but hung on for the win.
And if you've ever wondered why you should or shouldn't do it, just take a look at their view.
Look at how they're bouncing around in the cockpit.
Whoa! Bill! Bill! We made it. Oh, God.
Fortunately for them, they survived the incident and were able to win since there was virtually no competition. Sarasota went to Stainless with a unique strategy.
We had another boat that was real close to us, and we figured we'd let him lead the last couple laps and see if he went off course, and he did, so we just took off. Cat and mouse game.
At Cleveland, Stainless once again. Bill McComb and Rick Termel having a great year in this division, fighting through the rough waters to take the win. Fury would come home in second, right behind him. Then when the series moved across the border to Canada, Scorpion picked up their win in Mississauga. Then when the series came back to Florida, Brian Hollis and Bill Park picked up the win in St. Petersburg and the national championship over Scorpion and Extreme Stainless. The World Championships, however, would go to Bill McComb and Rick Termel, who still had a great season, winning the world title in Extreme Stainless. Stay with us. We're coming back for more of the Super Cats right here on Speed Vision. The Rockin' and Roarin' Offshore Grand Prix was the next stop in Cleveland, Ohio, in the shadows of Cleveland Brown Stadium.
4, 3, 2, 1, green flag.
And now we find out who made the right guesses on the propellers, and look at Drambuie here running hard.
On board Tommy Bahama, there goes Don Q, the blue and white boat on the right side of the screen, screaming out to the front.
Boy, and it looks to me like Don... Wow, now wait a minute. Now look at Bahama coming on strong. I was about to say Don Q were pulling away, but look at Bahama. They have found a whole new gear, and they are rocketing by them.
Now this just amazes me, Bill. I mean, I don't care how smooth that water is. It's got to be a wild ride at those speeds. And they look like they're out for a Sunday cruise on your average lake.
Well, this is the one part of the course where they can actually take a brief rest. They can just kind of sit back, enjoy the flat water, go, ah.
Oh, no!
Listen.
What is that? What is that? I don't know, something.
Oh,
We lost the blade.
that definitely is something. That was the sound of a lot of money just getting torn in half.
Once again, Tommy Bahama bitten by a mechanical bug while running extremely well, and the win gets handed to Drambuie on ice. Second place would go to Felix Sorales and Pat Patel in the always hard-charging Don Q Rum Machine, and third would go to Pier 57, David Woods and Art Lilly, having one of their better runs of the year. In the point standings at this point of the year, the Kinetics Cup would be held by Drambuie on ice, Donkey Rum, Katmandoo, Tommy Bahama in fourth. To the Super V's. When the green comes out, watch the yellow and blue Pier 57 jumping out to the early lead. Fred Tull and Joey Cratton giving him a run. Zanetics on the outside. Look at how smooth that boat is as it just powers on past into the lead. The Conseco boat up into second, having their best run of the year for Jay Johnson and Nigel Hook and the well-crafted Conseco Scarab. Shockwave with a fire on board for Rich Tripoli and Doug Lewis out of the event, salvaging the boat. Zanetics, the motors just churning through the water, making their way to another win, this time in the Great Lakes, winning the Rockin' and Roaring Grand Prix. Zanetics locking up the points championship in the Lucas Oil Super V's over Muscle, Conseco, and Pier 57. Supercat Light Inboard got underway at Daytona with boat 36, Team Yahoo taking the win in the first race of the year for Jammin' Jones and Curtis Morris. As the tour moved on to Fort Myers, Florida, Zip Express in the 777, Dan Francis and Neil Wabi looked like they were going to be the boat to beat, but this day there was some extra little help for the Peppers entry number 1. Michael Stancomb, who races with his father George, had recently lost his son and the mother of his son in a tragic car accident. They raced hard on this day with a special purpose, to get a win in their memory. An emotional victory lane followed.
A lot of prayers the last couple days. All our friends showed up, my family, a lot of support. We lost my son and his grandson about a week and a half ago in a car accident, and you know, we had to win this one for them, him and his mom. I'm gonna miss them both, man. But it's for Beth Ann and Matthew.
Gentlemen, from all of your APBA family, we're thinking of you and hope you enjoy this victory whichever way you can.
Thank you very much.
Victory lane can always be emotional, but not like this. Back to the racing, this time at Corpus Christi, the Allen Samuels East-West Powerboat Shootout. Rough waters on this day. Look at how much air Team Tellium, Gary Heon, and John Kiley get. Charging through the waters the best they can.
Uh-oh, now here's a problem. Zip Express are dead in the water. They have suffered a problem. We hear it might be a broken prop.
With Zip Express falling out of the race, how sweet it is both 39 Brent Leach and John Peterson moved into second place in Supercat Light Inboard. Tellium up front, that big cat slicing through those huge waves. John and Gary enjoying their ride on this very tricky water off of Corpus Christi, Texas. Tellium making its way to victory lane in a checkered flag.
Green flag, green flag, green flag.
The next round at Sarasota, the Suncoast Offshore Grand Prix, and Tellium would lead the huge pack once again as John and Gary moved right out into the lead and their second win in a row. Celebrations all the way around for the Tellium crew. 2 races, 2 victories, and a good points lead for them. 39 in front of Team Yahoo. How sweet it is, Montana Motorsports and Zip Express. The big cats would get ready to go north of the border. When we come back, we're going to... APBA Offshore Television presents the 2001 Offshore Collection. From Fort Myers to the season-closing Key West World Championships, all the action from the world's most extreme form of racing can be yours. Single tapes just $22.95, or get the complete 8-race package from Fort Myers to Key West for just $154.95. Call 1-800-VIP-FIVE or send check or money order to the address listed. That's 1-800-VIP-FIVE. Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, home of the Offshore Grand Prix of Canada, just outside of Toronto, would be the scene of the next round of APBA competition. Zanetics right back out front, Wyatt and Jeff leading once again. The Conseco boat, however, having a great run and giving a strong challenge from second place in their Wellcraft Scarab.
And Conseco, the big Scarab, has now taken up a challenging position.
On board with them, and boy, Nigel Hook and Craig Berry for 2 races in a row now have really found the speed out of this big Scarab.
Yep, coming through.
Now, Muscle came into this round really thinking they had something for Zenetics, but it didn't work out.
We're real happy. It was what I call fast rough out there, and kind of like Corpus Christi, where you could really run a lot of speed, but there were some big ones out there waiting for you. You got to really be on your P's and Q's, and this boat just eats that stuff up.
On to the Super Cats. Good start for Don Q Rum, the big blue machine, out in front, leading the field early on.
This is an impressive display of horsepower. This is where the big supercharged motors really jump out. That's 1,600 horsepower.
Drambuie and Ice sitting back in third. Cat Can Do in second. But Drambuie's got the inside line as you're on board with the Volvo Penta onboard camera. Hugh Fuller on the driver. John Tomlinson, the throttle man, and Don Q just off to the right. That is a points battle, too.
Yeah, Pier 57 on that first corner, they took a long outside line. They really kept the momentum up. Art Lilly was able to keep the throttles hard down.
So the points battle is a battle for third right now. Drambuie on Ice, the points leader on the right side of your screen. And Felix Sorales and Pat Patel in the blue. Don Q Rum second in the points and running fourth today.
You know, once again, this gives us a really good example. As that boat was heading directly towards us, the water conditions actually don't look too bad, as they are on the one section of the course. But when they come down the other way, suddenly it goes terrible on them.
Up until this point in the season, one boat we hadn't had a chance to talk a whole lot about was Cat Can Do. At this point, running in second place behind Pier 57. Cat Can Do, the big Super Cat number 19, having a good run. Pier 57 up front, really showing the horsepower today. David Woods and Art Lilly having a fantastic afternoon in Mississauga. However, after the race, when Pier 57 had claimed the checkered flags, their boat was disqualified for an illegal rev limiter in a post-race inspection, handing the win to Cat Can Do. Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson would hold on for second place. Don Q Rum would take third. Pat Patel and Felix Sorales staying close in the points chase. When we come back, the national championships are on the calendar. We're headed back to Florida. St. Petersburg, Florida, the scene for the Hurricane Classic Offshore National Championships presented by Cigarette, and the conclusion to the Kinetics Cup National Championship for Super Cats. Drambuie and Ice came in with the points lead, but only need to finish fifth or better to lock up the Kinetics Cup. Don Q Rum still had an outside shot, but Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson were ready for the war.
Is that an awesome sight? Just tearing down the race course here. Here's Spirit of Puerto Rico. Look at how close he comes right there to that V.
Almost washing it out, too.
Well,
they just disappeared in the spray.
They do disappear. That, too, is potentially such a dangerous part for the V or for any following boat because you literally are completely invisible for a few seconds.
Now, the spectators are right there on your left. That's why St. Petersburg is so spectacular for the fans. The boat's coming so close to the shoreline.
Oh, and look at this. Now, this is really a mark of confidence and skill on both teams. Both of them aware where the others were.
The Nemshoff's having a great run. Drambuie and Ice doing exactly what they need to do. Cat Can Do running along solidly in third, having a solid afternoon. And behind them, Don Q Rum, Felix and Pat just could not get out of fourth place, seeing the championship slipping away. And slipping off course, Tommy Bahama.
I don't know where it is. There's a boat in front of it.
They are going way off course.
Where are we?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh,
boy, and that says it all. Look at him. He's turning hard left.
And here comes Cat Can Do, and look at how far off course they went. You can see Cat Can Do going by him as Tommy Bahama's just getting back to the buoys.
That's amazing. Now, they are at least going to go around the buoy. Right there.
Go.
Now, Had he not gone around the buoy, he could have been penalized a lap, so at least they are still on the same lap.
Amazingly, however, they would quickly catch back up to the rest of the field.
Wow, look at this, almost side by side down the straight here.
Keith Holmes, the driver of Cat Can Do, and Paul had a much better line through those corners. Tommy Bahama using sheer speed to get back to the front. Look at how this boat comes charging through the water as the Nemshoffs retake the lead.
Now look how tight he is. He's holding it very tight. There's Cat Can Do way behind. What?
Easy now, easy, go. Just real smooth and easy. I got it.
And after watching numerous victories slip through their grasp due to mechanical problems, the Nemshoffs finally get a win.
Congratulations, what a show. All right, guys, that's for you. Yeah, after we almost gave it away out here.
Trambuie on ice, Hugh Fuller, John Tomlinson wrap up the national championship, claiming the Kinetics Cup. As you take a look at the points, Don Q. Rum holds on for second, Cat Can Do, and Tommy Bahama gets the last race of the year victory and fourth in the championship.
I think I could have ran a little better, but I chose just better to run a smart race here. You know, we ran hard, but we tried to run a real smart race, conservative in the turns. Hugh's right on the money, and got to thank the Lord just for all his blessings for everyone.
And now a look at the Lucas Oil Super V Series. Fred Tall, Joey Gratton out front in their Pier 57 entry.
These big boats just sound wonderful. If you've never been to an APBA offshore race, you have got to come just to hear the sound of these things. Oh my.
Look at the engine covers flapping in the breeze a little bit back there. Pier 57 boat having one of their best runs of the year, and once again Muscle showing the speed that they had at the beginning of the year here at the back end of the season as they were running strongly in second place. Pier 57, however, would have to succumb to the forces of Zenetics as Zenetics moved past to take another win. White and Jeff would in every race but one in the 2001 campaign. They would also claim the Lucas Oil Super V Championship over Muscle, Conseco, Pier 57, and Shockwave. For more information about APBA offshore racing, check out www.apba-offshore.com. Stay with us. Offshore Super Series season. Let's take a look at the second half of the Supercat Light 2001 campaign. Supercat Light inboard at the Rockin' and Roarin' Offshore Grand Prix in Cleveland. This one would be a great battle between these two boats, number 1 Peppers and the 777 on the bottom of the screen, Zip Express. The Stancombs, the winners at Fort Myers earlier this year. But where the story was with this one was at the finish. Watch the last lap.
Look at how close they are.
Wow, right in the spray as they come down the final run to the checkers.
Boy, they're coming into the calm water right here. Oh, no, and one more time he goes through that spray. Listen, he's breathing hard. He is trying everything. One more time, again through the spray. What is he doing? I think Peppers are just choosing any line they want on the course right now.
And Zip Express will fall just short and just off to the right of the screen. Peppers goes on to the win in Cleveland.
That's it.
Absolutely unbelievable. What competition all the way through that race.
On to Mississauga, Ontario, Canada for the Offshore Grand Prix of Canada. This time Zip Express and Telium would go at it.
He's going to go outside now. Keep it. I am. Okay. Keep go.
See, that's good. Now what he's doing, Throttle Man is keeping an eye on other boats around as he's working the throttles, allowing the driver to keep his concentration on exactly what's ahead, where the bad waves are, where the good water is.
Then the rains would come as Brent Leach and John Peterson run in third.
Oh man, did he get air right there. They want another huge launch off that wave. This is getting ugly out here. Look at the cloud up ahead.
And look at the rain picking up.
Uh-oh. Visibility is going to go downhill dramatically right now.
As the rains increase, APBA officials decided to call the event. Zip Express would hold on to take the victory in the shortened race.
Stay in it. I got it, buddy. That's got to be it. They got a checkered flag out. I'll be damned. We got a checkered flag. All right. That's what we're talking about.
I think a lot of that celebration is just they made it home in one piece. You see, they both got hands raised in the air.
Yeah. That's what we needed. Go in. Go to the thing. Yahoo!
In the points chase, Team Tellium over How Sweet It Is, but Zip Express closes in a little bit with the victory. On to St. Petersburg for the Hurricane Classic Offshore National Championships presented by Cigarette. Zip Express would take the lead. Dan Francis, Neil Wabi running out in front of the rest of the pack, while How Sweet It Is, Boat 39, lets it all hang out, running back in second.
Man.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy, he got really loose. Just kind of cakewalking up there back and forth. He backed totally out of the throttle.
That would be important because shortly thereafter, Zip Express would break. We would then find out the transmission let loose on the 777. That would leave the lead and the win to boat number 39. How Sweet It Is would get the victory in St. Petersburg as Brent Leach and John Peterson motor on past a broken Zip Express. In the points chase, however, Team Tellium would win the title by 30 points over How Sweet It Is, Zip Express, Montano, and Peppers rounding out the top 5. In Super Cat Light Outboard, the blue and white boat Flowmaster dominated the triple engine class. In Super Cat Light Outboard, you can either run a triple or a twin.
I'm going to cut behind him. Okay. I'm good. Go, 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 go.
And great teamwork to help Flowmaster, Todd Werner, and Michael Anderson win the triple title. In the twin division, Cat Can Do boat number 19, David Zenstra and Mark Polker ran just the last 3 races of the year, but won all 3 and ended up claiming the championship in the twin division for Super Cat Light Outboard. Time now for our GM Vortec Offshore View. Lately, we have been talking about new classes and lots of new technology from GM's family of Vortec engines. So for our final installment, we thought we would show you how they used to test marine engines. Back in the old days, they called it dock testing. You lashed your boat to the dock or to the shore, then ran up the RPMs to test the power and longevity. Today, the dyno and computer test benches are much safer and a lot more accurate. But back in the old days, it was a lot simpler, but a lot more black magic and seat-of-the-pants experience was needed. Nowadays, computers can be used to tell us a lot about what goes on inside an engine. So for safety, the engineers could not resist hooking up their computers during our demonstration to check out the engine's performance during our old-fashioned test. Stay with us. When we come back, we're headed to the World Championships in Key West. Baja Pro Series has been brought to you by Baja. Speed changes you. By Lucas Oil Products, the official lubricant of the American Powerboat Association Offshore Pro Series. And by Liberty Coach, the official motor coach provider of the APBA Offshore Baja Pro Series. Once the national crowns were handed out, it was time to go to Key West for the World Championships, the APBA UIM Offshore World Championships. This is a 2-race format. How you finish in both races combined decides who wins the world titles. Super Cats got underway. Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson had the old Drambuie and Ice National Championship boat parked and brought out this new one, the white boat. And Mr. Solo had problems. Kenneth Charles, Robert Stepanio, and Darren Marshall upside down, but all 3 were okay. Race 1 would be real controversial between Drambuie and Spirit of Puerto Rico.
There's definitely going to be controversy again. You can see Spirit of Puerto Rico turned across the bows of Drambuie on Ice. Now, John Tomlinson's boat is not turning well, so he could not really take a tight line, and look how close they come.
So Spirit of Puerto Rico takes a victory in race number 1 for the Super Cats. Let's go back now and take a look at the first day's highlights from Super V, the Lucas Oil Super V Series.
Well, these big Vs, they just might be the loudest race boats in the world. They come down the harbor here, it sounds like 1,000 Harley Davidsons coming into town. And these guys, well, they have had the season that everybody dreams about. Wyatt and Jeff, virtually untouchable for the whole year.
Well, a new boat would show up at the World Championships and take a shot at him. Altronics, boat 61, would take a run at him, but not enough. Race 1 would go to Zenetics. Supercat Light, Tellium, who had won the national championship, chases, catches, and finally passes Peppers. And Tellium, Gary Heon, and John Kiley would go on to win race number 1. Hurricanes would force race number 2 to come 2 weeks later. At the start of the Supercat race, Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson would get right into the lead. Spirit of Puerto Rico would be battling with Tommy Bahama in the fight for second place. Trambuie would be way out front when the first caution would come for Spirit of Puerto Rico, which flipped. Russell Wilkin, Jose Yama, both okay. On the restart, Fuller and Tomlinson motor away from the Nemshoff's Tommy Bahama.
That's particularly impressive because one of the things we have seen all year long in the calm water is the speed of the Tommy Bahama boat. So if they have got this Drambuie boat working that well, boy, that's a strong one today.
One Drambuie ice boat won the national championships. This one wins race number 2 and the world championship. Final standings for the APBA UIM World Titles for Supercats, Drambuie on ice over Tommy Bahama and Spirit of Puerto Rico. To the Super V Series, Altronics found the speed again and this time was able to hold off Zenetics.
One thing to keep in mind here is Zenetics won the race on Wednesday. There they are right there, so you can see they're close. But I wonder how hard they're pushing, because if they combine the first and the second place, that will give them the title. So maybe their contention is kind of sit back and play a waiting game, not stress the machinery.
Zenetics only had to stay within 16 seconds of the leader, Altronics. That they did. They allowed Altronics to take the win, but Zenetics takes the world title. So Jeff and Wyatt win the national championship and the world championship. Altronics Muscle, Media Master, Pier 57 round out the top 5. Supercat Light inboard. Things would go sour for Gary Heon and John Kiley in race number 2. Not running very well, and then watch this. Over goes the boat. Fortunately, Gary and John both okay, but their shot at a world title going out the window. Zip Express, boat 777, Dan Francis, Neil Wabi, however, would claim the world championship.
It's the best racing we had yet, but we had some great racing all year, and this just tops it all.
Here's a quick look at the Supercat Light World Championship points. Zip Express over Tellium by 19. And congratulations to our other outboard champions, Snake Man in the Triple Division and Cat Can Do in the Twins. Well, it's been an absolutely tremendous season of racing with the APBA Baja Pro Series, the National Championship, and the World Title. For more, check out www.speedvision.com. The 2002 season just around the next buoy. For Bill Adam, I'm Ralph Sheen. So long.